If you're looking to grow a garden, you're looking for someone with a green thumb. If you want to grow a positive person, you need to stay tuned to this morning's guest. Coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Financial Insights off of Grissom Parkway in Myrtle Beach. We're focused on growing positive people, and it's part 2 of Dr. Muriel O'Toole. Good morning, Muriel. Thanks again for coming back in this morning.
Wonderful.
It was so exciting being with you yesterday morning. I think there's so much that we covered, but still so much to touch on. I think, as you said, we hadn't even got into the meat of it when we had to wrap up. So it's great getting you back in. Really is a treat.
It's an honor for me to be here. Great.
Of course, to think about a subject like growing positive people, and yesterday, if you remember, as I wrapped up the show, we were thinking about mental vitamins or the language of validation. These are some big topics that tie into that. Obviously, to make sure that the work is properly channeled in growing positive people, and it is a little bit of work.
It is. Right. Positive relationships don't happen overnight. That's why we have to grow them as we grow a garden. We nurture them, we put good seed there, and I was talking yesterday, or we were discussing how there's 1% of the population who really are bent and determined to put other people down, to make life miserable, but yet there's 79% who really are open to being positive. It's just not as much work in working with them. And the language of validation really is 4 words, and I have imprinted them in my heart forever. Simple words that I have used with groups for more than 20 years in a variety of ways. And those words are appreciate, admire, respect, and love. You know, even though we know we're loved, we don't express it. We don't let people know how we feel, whether it's in the workplace or home place. So through the years, I've been very interested in this concept of validation. Even if I'm having a small group of church women, I'll say, let's do the language of validation. They have no clue what I'm talking about. But what I do is I have 2 people face each other, much like you and I are facing each other. And what I do is I say something like, I appreciate you're having me on the show today. I admire you for what you do in this community, and I respect you as a person. And Greg, I like you a lot. You're easy to like.
Yeah, I like
you're so positive.
Oh, very nice.
You know, we don't hear those words every day. So I've taken that on to a different level now in terms of my grandchildren. My grandchildren. My husband died before my grandchildren were born. I have 3 grandkids. They're like 10, 8, and 5.
And they live here? They
live in North Carolina, Lake Norman.
Area,
They live about 4.5 hours. But one of the traditions, I think we have to make new traditions, or we have to do things to keep a positive attitude and a life. If that's important to us, I want my grandkids to be that way. And I tell you what, I don't have to work too hard with Delaney, the 5-year-old, because when she came in the bedroom one morning to snuggle with me a couple of years ago, she just comes in to snuggle, and she just says, "Oh, Mama, you are so beautiful. I love you. It's a beautiful day. Everything is wonderful." Well, as she came in and was snuggling, I have this flannel nightgown that I leave at my son's house, so I had on my flannel nightgown, and as a decent grandmother would do, I was pulling down my nightgown. And she happened to see a varicose vein or so on my leg, and she says, "Oh, Mama, I just love your tattoos." So you see, she is an easy one. No matter what she sees, she likes. But I got to thinking about what I could give them that would impact them forever. And it's not a gift. When I go visit my grandchildren, they never see me come to the door with gifts in hand.
Never.
Never. If I have a gift, it will be in the car. I'll give it to them later.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't come to the door with gifts in my hand.
Yeah.
I want them to be excited about seeing me.
Good for you, yes.
So that's sort of been a tradition.
Yes.
But about 3 years ago, I came up with this idea of the language of validation as a gift for Christmas. So what we do is we get one of the bar stools from the kitchen and place it by the Christmas tree.
Right.
And then each person in the family gets to sit in the high chair or the stool. And one by one, the family goes around and says something in the language of appreciated my respect and love, something positive that they admire or like or whatever about that person.
Wow.
So you see there are 5 of them, 1 of me, so that's 6 people.
Yeah.
So here it is, it's Christmas time, the tree is lit, and the bar stool is by the tree. And I explained to them that stool is the chair for the gift of words. So usually the oldest grandson gets in the chair, and then we all take turns by telling him something we like about him. Like I said, Will, I like your manners. I've noticed how well-mannered you are, and I really appreciate how you just have a love of reading. Just something positive. And then, of course, everybody else comes around, and that person gets all of that validation.
I love it.
And then it's, the next one. It takes a while to do this.
Sure.
And I'm the last one in the chair. Mama. Sometimes they call me Mama at the beach.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm the last one in the chair, and they come around to tell me what they like about me. It's a wonderful format or forum for me to hear what my daughter-in-law thinks about me.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
She's from Chicago, which is another country. But for the last 3 or 4 years, I've come to appreciate her more because I was wondering if she likes all the fun and stuff that I bring. And I'm different. I'm a Southern girl. I like stewed tomatoes on rice. I'm different.
Yes.
But it's through that I found out how much she appreciates me.
And how insightful she is, I guess.
How insightful she is.
Than you would have thought.
And this year, I heard words from my son. He's always been very close to me and very appreciative. But as I was sitting on that stool, and there's my son down on the floor looking up at me with his hands on my knees, he looks up in my face thinking, and then he says, Mama, I can't remember a time in my life I didn't love you. And that's powerful stuff.
That is.
And had I not structured that setting, we would not be able to communicate that way. So it's a forum you can use even in a very close-knit family to say things that we don't say unless it's structured.
Now, is this something that you think about, or that you think is particularly best suited for once a year, like Christmas time, or is it a good quarterly thing?
It's great to do at Thanksgiving.
Right, sure.
I've done that with my own family.
Sure.
At Thanksgiving, it's good at Valentine's.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a couple one time tell me that they used that. They just got married. They didn't have money to go out, and they decided to do the language of validation of taking time to tell each other how much they appreciate, admire, respect, and love.
Yeah.
And if you aren't comfortable with the word love, if you're using this in a work setting, you can use the word like.
Yeah.
But there are people everywhere who've never heard words of validation.
And we know Delaney loves your tattoos.
She loves my tattoos.
She loves your smile and your youthfulness. Does. What else did she love?
The first time we did this, she wasn't sure how. They were a little apprehensive about what do I say. And the first thing she said to me about 3 years ago, she says, Mama, I love you. You are so silly. And to me, that was so positive.
Oh, yeah.
Coming from someone. So she was getting it.
Sure. She knew what was going on. Yeah.
So it's just totally impromptu. It's just a way of expressing our feelings.
Yeah.
And of course, it brings us closer.
Absolutely. As a family. Sure, all 6 of y'all.
And through that, my son writes notes to me. He knows that I really don't care about a package. I'd much rather have some words, some positive words. And for Mother's Day, I have this note that he wrote me, like Mother's Day.
Let's hear it.
This is what he said. Just a quick note to wish you a wonderful Mother's Day. My gratitude to you for preparing me for life is endless. Please know that I will always love you and seek to inspire my kids the way you inspired me. I look forward to seeing you soon, your adoring son.
I love it.
And see, that's worth $1 million to me.
You're right. You're right.
So it's these words of appreciation, admiration, respect, and love that stay with us. And you see, when we don't use them, or when we're negative, we perpetuate a negative history for our children and our grandchildren. But when we, through our example, use words of validation, they learn to use words of validation.
Growing positive people, absolutely.
And that is a very personal example of how that happens.
That can happen, as you say. You know, when you're speaking, and I know for folks who missed you yesterday, you're not only, and you retired more or less from being a full-time educator,
right?
But still surely maintain your speaking circuit,
yes,
as well as working on your second soon-to-be released book, which is, of course, the one for folks who weren't with us yesterday, Footprints on the Heart. You had a tremendous story that goes along with that, how you came up with that title.
Right.
I'd ask you to go over it again, but some folks who saw it yesterday, there's still a lot more to growing positive people that we want to get into. But this is a great subtitle, The Caring Path to Prosperity.
Right. The
Caring Path to Prosperity. And so much happens when you're thinking about either a setting like that or also growing positive people. Yeah. So much has to happen to maintain that focus.
Yes. And Greg, you know, in our lives we have all of these ups and downs. And when you said something about retiring from full-time educator work, actually it's just shifting gears.
Yeah,
that's what life is all about, is just shifting and changing. We have to change. And it's incredible that when we focus on being a person people like to be around, I just don't like being around phonies. I don't like to be around people who are always so negative about everything.
Right.
And we make that happen. Like I said yesterday, we are not born being a positive person. We have to work at it like we grow a garden. We have to nurture to have caring paths for prosperity in terms of a life of joy. In fact, 85% of fulfillment in life comes from positive interaction with other people. So it just pays in terms of fulfillment in life. And that's what we strive for, is to be that person that people enjoy being around. They're comfortable with.
It is very important. And of course, as you say, whether it highlights into change, and actually Donna Tyson's going to be with us tomorrow talking about changes in her life and changes in general, and how folks can better strengthen there and have some courage. And the change is a big issue. But of course, as you say, growing from, can you be negative? Can you be a real negative person and become a positive person? Is there hope? Yesterday you talked about that 1% of very negative people. Is that possible? Or do you, or maybe they can't be reached through Muriel O'Toole?
Well, I believe there's hope for the turkeys.
Right.
But you have to want it. I believe this, Greg, that no matter how positive we are, the only person we can control is ourselves. And I think the most powerful way to grow positive people is to influence them through our own lives, being positive, being the example of a positive person. And we just have to work at it.